All right, boys, how we doing? Welcome, welcome, one and all. Race Pace, episode 4. We're back. It's good to be back. And now we have a little bit of a change up in the order. Me going into the Shadow Realm, as I tend to do. There we go. And we have a new face. Unfortunately, Warner couldn't join us this time round. Wish him all the best. Hopefully, he's doing well. But we do have a special guest, the one and only ESV Mario.
Oh my
Hello.
god, it's him.
Replacing Warner, basically. Confirmed.
Oh my god, it's just a substitute. Okay.
A temporary sub in for this round. He had a free slot. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good.
Of course, thanks for coming along. And Albin, good to see you, bud. How you been?
I've been busy a little bit with uni, with other stuff, with RH. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I feel that one. But onto the talk of the town. Of course, we've got what is often widely regarded as Horizon's fastest, if not one of the fastest drivers, in a call with us right now. So I'm sure there's plenty of burning questions.
Yeah, let's actually start from the beginning, maybe. Like, can you, if you were to talk a bit about yourself to the people that don't know,
Okay.
it's not an interview, but you know, some people might not know who ESV Mario is.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just quite fast. I
That is
started.
true fact.
I started because of lockdown. Like, I got Forza when the UK went into lockdown because of COVID. And I started playing ranked. So that's how I started.
Wait, you started in 2020 only?
Yeah, 2020 is when I got Forza.
Oh, that's insane, actually. What the hell?
Before that, I didn't play racing games. I played Fortnite, so bit of a different demographic. And then because of ranked, I raced against some people from O1ST, which was like a team back in 2020, and they invited me to TeamWars, and that's where it started. Basically, that's where I started to play properly and tried to actually get good at the game. So
Wasn't TeamWars like a couple teams only back then? Or was
There-
it like
there was still a decent amount, but they just, a lot of them are just not around anymore. My first race was against 1%, and
Yo.
FID, I think. So obviously FID is still around, but I got destroyed in that race, and that's kind of what egged me on to start playing the game properly and taking it more seriously, because obviously it's a bit of a reality check coming from ranked to competitive Horizon.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with people people that come into TeamWars now from CA. Like the teams either just get discouraged immediately because they get 1/6 by a team like GRT. That's what happened to Niz, for example. Or they just just try getting better. But I guess you're you're the second option, the better option.
The
'Cause
exception
I also
to the
got
rule.
I also got really destroyed in my first Team Wars. I think I got 8th and 10th against Nuts. The race where you didn't race. I
Yeah,
don't know if you remember, yeah.
that race
one.
annoyed me.
That one was a bit of a
I think my first race was, it was TVR. So ironically, I've come full circle. I'm back with TVR now and racing again, hopefully. It was against VRT, and I remember this specifically because we had everyone P2 through 11. I think I came 6th, I want to say. But this was where Bard was really getting noticed, and he just shot off. I remember specifically the road reg with the Supras, but that's crazy to think. I was expecting this whole big story. It's yeah, I've loved the franchise since its inception, played Motorsport 2, played all this and all that. No, lockdown, jumped in during COVID, just fully sent it. That's awesome. I guess, what made you switch from, say, playing it casually, into taking it seriously? It's okay, I could seriously sink a lot of time into it. Was it a more gradual thing, or was it a moment where you switched?
Well, so I was just playing ranked, so my friend Chills, he's not really around anymore, but we both got the game at the same time because of lockdown. and obviously I competed in Fortnite, so I'm just quite competitive in general. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna play ranked. And then when I got into the TeamWars race and I just got hammered, I was like, oh, there's a big skill gap here. I should probably try to get better. I didn't really decide. Like, it was just because we were in lockdown. I had the time to spare. So yeah, I just spent like my first summer in 2020. I was just grinding a lot and doing loads of races to try to get onto pace, I guess.
Yeah, it's lockdown as well. That's the other factor. It's that the time you had in lockdown, it was a weird time. So in the UK at least, it played out very weirdly compared to maybe how some other countries handled it, because some stuff was open and then it wasn't, and then schools were all like colleges were all remote. I remember this because at the time I was wrapping up my like IT college course and we moved to online for the majority of it. I distinctly remember because I was that kid who had all his work on one monitor, and that's the monitor the teacher saw. I had my second monitor with Midnight Club 3 playing on an emulator. So take with that what you will.
Yeah, you're truly dedicated. Yeah, I think, and a lot of people said that actually. I heard from a lot of people that you have like a very good practice culture, that you like practice a lot. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, because I feel like people with people like Sumin and I don't know, like Bard, maybe I don't know that much about him, but they seem to like have this talent for the game. They just like instantly become good, and you actually have this journey behind, and you can tell people that, hey, I improved on my own accord. I actually practiced. I tried. You know, it's pretty cool, to be honest. You know, like
Yeah.
like a story that
But
like,
yeah,
people
it's
can,
just like, I don't know. I think there's always like a discussion about like who's best based on like stuff like that. So originally people would kind of discredit me because I do a lot of laps and a lot of practice. But I guess over time it pays off. There's kind of there's not really a reason to not practice if you have the time. I think I prefer to over practice than underperform. So just that's kind of my mentality.
Yeah, that thing gets you noticed, the mindset. Like, for example, by ESV. I actually still don't know how ESV scouts people from, or why ESV scouts people from Horizon. Because did you even do races for them in Motorsport?
Nah, I've barely touched motorsport.
Yeah, I remember that one night when we did like a couple laps when me and Hector were practicing for Yas Marina, was it?
Yeah,
And you were
in the
like almost
Ferrari.
instantly, almost on pace. Like, I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the transferable skills, right? So everything that I've developed in Horizon, I kind of transfer. But for me, Motorsport 7 is not very enjoyable. I don't
Why?
really enjoy. I don't
physics?
enjoy the physics of just don't feel good to me. So it's harder for me to like put time into it. As I say, I practice a lot, but if I don't enjoy practice, then I just don't want to do it. So
What about the new game then? You're moving there,
I'm
or you're staying in
yeah,
FH5?
I'm gonna move. If it's good, if I like it, then I'll stay there. If I don't like it, then I don't know what happens then. Really.
Just go sim at this point. Have you actually
Yeah.
like thought about it? Because like Forza is a very, you know, like if you're good at the game, if you're like top base, you can almost safely assume that you would be good at like the more competitive, the more esports titles. Have you actually like thought about going to sim, like Hydra, for example, or Eclipse?
I have thought about it, and I've discussed it with people before. At the moment, it's kind of too much of an investment for me.
All right.
Just purely because I'm just finishing university, and I spend a lot of my savings on traveling, so I can't
cool.
I can't really afford to just get a sim rig and sit down and play that. Because for me at the moment, like Forza doesn't take up as much time as I think sim racing would. Obviously, I still practice, but I don't have to practice like as much as I used to practice when I was starting out. Whereas I think if I was to get into sim racing, I'm starting afresh, so I'm going to need to sink a lot more time into it again. And I don't really have that time at the moment.
Yes, just priorities, right? And as much as we talk about like Sims being like progression of skill and progression of challenge, it's an investment. So one thing that I always give credit for Forza is whether it's Horizon or Motorsport, it's very much a pick up and play type game. In that, regardless of your skill level, you can pick it up, you can jump in. Say you've got a TeamWars race coming up, you can within a few minutes you throw on a BP, 20 laps, job done. It's pretty good in that regard. Like, it's quite approachable in terms of practice, I'd say. But I'm curious. Let's throw us into a scenario here. You got a race coming up. If you had to put a ballpark on how much you'd practice, I know it depends, but what would be your ballpark? What would be your approach going in?
Let's say Nuts versus GRT, okay? Let's just put
Ah,
you know,
Nuts versus
like a proper
GRT.
race, like a proper race.
Nuts versus GRT, I'd put a
Something
lot of time in.
Yeah, I'm still here. I think.
Yeah, I think for Nuts versus GRT especially, I would put a lot, probably more time in than I usually do. I tend to do like 3 hours an evening when I have a race, so
Every single day for a week.
for a week, yeah. But I don't practice more than a week.
Oh, you actually said that, yeah. Even if the races
Yeah.
are available before, right? You
So
only
if
do
I always start a week before the race, and I just do every evening, and I don't drive anything else. So for that week where I'm practicing, when I play Forza, I only practice.
okay.
So that I'm used to the car and the track, and that's it. But I don't do more than a week because I just get burnt out then, and by the race day, I'm just not enjoying it anymore.
Fair enough, yeah. It's easier to do good if you feel good about the reg, obviously. Yeah, I get it.
Not
But you don't seem to play that much anymore. Like only for stuff like RH or RHEC or TeamWars. You just don't do any CA ever. You're just at your skill peak and you just show up, get your money,
Yeah,
prize money, and just leave.
Like sometimes I feel like streaming and I'll like bang out some CA streams, but most of the time, because especially with like Racing Haven, because it's like a week on, a week off. In my week off, I just don't want to touch Forza. So
but then you have to do testing, bruh. These guys.
Yeah, then I have to come back
you.
and do testing.
Oh my god.
But obviously also like I have other things to do outside of Forza, so that week off I kind of like I plan to do stuff for that week off.
Yeah.
It's just that balance kind of
Yeah.
thing. I mean, I know how you feel because like where I've got gigs with commentary, although they've wrapped up now, the F122 season's kind of wrapped up ahead of the new game, but it's almost like having to plan around things. So every Monday I was commentating. Every Wednesday I had to leave free for student championship with British esports, where I'd support my college, make sure it was all good there. Thursday I'll be commentating, and then we'll see every other Tuesday now we have the Race Pace podcast. It's just like planning around that. So I'll have some days between that and let's say prepping assets for Racing Haven. I'll just be like, nope, I don't want to touch the game. I need a break. I need to do this. I need some me time. I need this space, and you gotta have it because, like you say, you get burnt out of the game if you grind it too much. When you're taking it that seriously, you're prepping it for a specific race, and a lot maybe riding on it. Can see why you have like that almost tight schedule. I know some people would look at only a week and think you're crazy, but method to the madness, right? I guess that's the whole theme here.
Yeah. It's also being an admin in RH, in TeamWars, in HRA, FIDA, whatever. It's just so much. Yeah, it's so much work. Oh man. But yes, yeah, I get it. I also don't really play the game anymore, so to speak. That's a very bad. Okay, I play the game a lot. For anyone that's listening, I play every day. Yes. But But yeah, I don't know. I'm also just waiting for the new game. It's just been such a drought. Just don't want to play. Whatever. But also, I lost my train of thought. Amazing.
Well, it's I guess the whole idea of playing the game versus working for the game. Like, let me explain. When I play the game, I technically play the game every day, but it's not always playing. It will be things like getting B-roll for the next RH round. It'll be things like doing certain objectives to make sure I have a car for this TeamWars reg, or like auction house sniping so I can do livery shots. Very little of my time now is actually spent playing and racing. Now, I want to improve that because, like I said, I'm coming back to racing. Eventually, that's the hope, and I'm hoping to come back in fairly strong form. But it's that case of what time you have and almost rationing it out with your priorities, and that's the weird middle ground I guess we all find ourselves in. Is that we're racers at heart, but like we also spend a lot of time working on stuff around the game and outside of the game that the actual play time, I know not in your case, Moz, because see you top racer through and through, but for maybe myself and Albin, it's a lot less of actually playing the game than the hours would lead you to believe.
Yeah, but a lot of people still like don't agree because they're like, oh, it's FH5, all the best players left, and now it's Mars left at the top, but he's like overrated or whatever. Like I keep hearing about that, and how do you even prove these people wrong? Like I don't really, because there has to be a lot of pressure on you to perform, to always get first. Like when Green beat you in that amazing AR12 tournament or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Like people just went mental and they were like, it's over. Green is just the better player. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to deal with that. I don't know.
See, I mean, for me, my like motivation is always myself more than anything else. So, I kind of ignore the pressure mostly, because I put pressure on myself regardless. Obviously, like every race, I just want to go and win.
Of course.
But I don't necessarily like. I don't feel like there's a pressure on me to win, even though like people expect me to. I think there's a lot of like good people, regardless, and I don't mind if I lose to them. Like that's not a problem. The only thing that I put pressure on myself for is my own performance. So if someone is just better than me on the day, then they're better than me on the day. That's not really like a problem to me.
Yeah,
It just makes me want to, it just makes me want to like do better. There was pressure with solo events because I was undefeated for a while, and last round I messed up on lap 1.
Yeah, that did happen. For anyone that didn't catch, Mars had an oopsie checkpoint miss on lap 1 and had to fight back a little bit, which didn't happen. Actually, Breezy took the win. His first RHGC win based.
That was kind of obviously lap 1 like nerves.
Yeah.
But also
You say you don't get nervous on lap 1 though, like usually, right? When people get nervous, you just like drive away.
Yeah, so like as in I always try to full send on lap 1 because that's when everyone else is nervous. That's always something that I recommend. But
you just don't get nervous, easy.
There's still obviously some like nerves there, right? Because you're like starting the race, like there's adrenaline and everything.
Yeah.
But for me, as I've got used to racing, it's just you kind of like know what you have to do. Lap 1 is so important, especially in like races where there's ghosting at the start, because you need to make positions up at the start before the unghosting. And obviously because people are nervous, they don't push, they're not driving as fast. So the first like lap is just
everyone's just chilling.
yeah.
They're
It's
like,
almost
I
like
have time.
setup
Yeah.
phase. It's
Yeah.
like the setup phase of the game. It's I guess you push, you have that early push, and then once you've got the clean break, you've got a little bit of a gap. You can almost go into, I think it's fair to say, almost like hot lapping mode. You kind of switch into practice mode in your brain. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I
Kind of.
think I don't really enjoy the races where I'm in hot lap mode as much. Obviously, it's good because I'm winning, right? But
Mm.
it's like if it's just me, then it's kind of, I don't know, it's just not as fun.
Mm.
It's just, I guess it's just boring, right? Because you're hot
Yeah,
lapping
like
everyone.
so for round one, Justin was like on me the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So the entire race was pushing, holding the gap, like trying to extend it. That's a lot more fun than race two, where I was just on my own.
Yeah.
Even
And you
though
never get
I
the
didn't.
spotlight anyway. Like, it's just no one watches you because you're always in first.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the tactical checkpoint miss, so you could have your POV shown
Yeah,
on stream.
yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it back to first. Maybe if you give me 10 more minutes.
You know, it happens. It happens.
60 minutes, pushing it a bit, don't you think?
Yeah.
In that regard, yeah, I mean, I often say when I do commentary bits like that, a racer's best race is a boring one, but that doesn't make it fun. Like, yeah, it's good for performance, but at its core, as we said time and time again, you're here to have fun, right?
Yeah. And you
It's
improve more if you
community.
fight someone
Yeah.
the whole time.
They push you to put on your best. So like I know that Warner, although he's not here, we're gonna start practicing again together because I pushed him originally when I used to be faster, and now he's gonna push me to get back up to my old pace. It's just you need that challenge, that drive, and more importantly, it's fun.
Oh yeah, you're back to racing, Sappy.
I was actually meant to be on a sidetrack to TeamWars. We mentioned it earlier. I was penned to be on TVR v GRG. I was penned to be on the road roster. I got swapped out, or actually no, I voluntarily swapped out in the last minute because I wasn't comfortable in my consistency. But I was lapping mid 28s with some level of confidence, and for some context, the track was peak pace. I think it was 27s within the race. Alien pace was like a high 26, and then average pace was about 28. So I could hit average-ish pace. I feel like I could have done decently in the mid-pack, but I just didn't have the consistency.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to actually. I wanted to ask actually. Are you expected to do to like perform since you're in ESV? Does the team or the org, I don't know how to treat it since you're in a different game, are you expected to perform or do certain things, or like how does that work? Because it's obviously not a full-fledged esports, so there's no like organizations. But what I don't know how that works. Because like you have the club tag, is like
Yeah,
what
they
else is there?
don't really pressure me to like perform, but they do support me. Like, so people will watch my races from ESV, and they always message me after. It's more like I'm representing them. So obviously, if I do well, it looks good on ESV.
Of course.
So yeah, there's not really like a pressure to perform, at least from the members, but obviously just carrying the tag kind of puts you under a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't
Because it
think
is a little bit of like a because they when they signed you, or I guess invited you to join, like they didn't know that you were planning to move to the new game. They just signed you for Horizon only, right?
Yeah.
So is it the same with Justin? Can you speak on that, or?
Yeah, so Justin specifically, he was signed for Horizon because obviously his performances are constantly improving.
Yeah, he's very good.
But at the same time, both of us are planning to go to the new Motorsport anyway, regardless. So I guess that's kind of just like an added thing. But I guess obviously we just want to have the best drivers, right?
Yeah, of course. regardless of the game. Man, here's hoping that that FM8 is actually gonna become an esport, and you guys get to, you know, actually get signed, just get, you know,
Yeah.
sponsor, get the sim rig, just, you know, become esports drivers. That would be amazing for Forza if they actually manage that. But there's a lot of money in it to be spent to
It's not
actually make that
unheard
happen.
of. I
Yeah,
mean,
of course.
you look at, say, I think it was 2017 to 19, Forza RC. They put so much money into that. Like, you had full built lands, rigs. It was a full-fledged competition, so they're not afraid to throw the money at it to get it to work. And as we talked about on a previous episode, I think the last episode, with regards to FM 2023, the fact it's not numbered means that it's going to be longer supported, and they're angling more for that esports drive. So I certainly want to see ESV, APR, all the other folks really sort of get their teeth properly into the new motorsport game, and see them go from, not saying that they're not full-fledged orgs, but like financially self-sustaining proper organizations. That would be the dream.
There's gonna be a lot of scouting for talent, right? Like, how do FH5 people prove themselves fast enough to get noticed quickly? Like, do just make teams out of existing teams and just compete in an endurance? So like, that's probably the play, right?
Yeah, I reckon the players, to as soon as the first tour event comes out,
Yeah.
all of the Horizon guys need to just make teams
Or
with each
RH.
other, or RH. But yeah, I think all of the Horizon guys need to make teams with each other and put in practice and performances. I think that's how you're going to get noticed. I think
that's gonna be so fun.
if I wasn't in ESV, I think that would be my plan too. So yeah, I reckon
with Justin, Suman, whoever, Breezy.
Yeah, just try and make it, because you don't have to have a tag, right, to race.
Yeah,
you can just. So if I just went in as my old tag, like Mars 2JZ, if I just went in as that on a tour event, if you perform well, people are going to notice regardless.
Yeah, I mean, Torres was especially good in that regard, because it's like you don't have to have that affiliation. You can just drop in. Heck, like at one point, I was signed to fill in for a
were you
solo
actually?
lobby. Yeah, no, that was a time, because it was, what was it? It was Spa. I got, basically, I wanted to do Tora. By this point, I was still actively racing. And SWR, Shockwave Racing. So Quack, Genji, they said basically, hey, you want to go for it? See what pace you can get. I was trash. I'll just be real. I'm trash.
Same.
But
yep.
I put in the grind. I could get a semi-consistent low lobby speed. Unfortunately, I got DC'd, but I was able to get that shot. So it is what it is, and I mean, hopefully with the new Motorsport, like you say, I'm going to be one of those drivers who's going to be gunning to jump at one of those teams and gunning for anything, really.
Oh, I hope they change physics though, because I literally cannot be consistent on those. Like the weight transfer, the way it works, it's just so like if you try to correct your car, it just, I don't know, it just stops turning or it just drifts. I don't get it. I really don't.
I think it's very nose heavy on the weight transfer.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like how do they mess this up? And I don't know
quite
if you guys...
easily, to be fair. It's a very difficult thing to balance. Now, I'm gonna say I'm not game dev. I don't know how half this stuff works on a fundamental level, but I've done enough work in the surrounding fields to get a good inkling. And what I do know is that it's a very complex engine for physics simulation. Horizon basically has it with a lot of training wheels, and not to downplay the level of skill, but it's like a lot of the physical effects. If I was to say simulation steering in Horizon 5 is normal steering in Motorsports 7, does that make a bit of sense?
I mean,
you
don't have a sim twitch in FH5.
Yeah, it's like there's things like sim twitch and a lot of like other factors in your driving are kind of neutered. They're kind of filtered out.
Wasn't that the case in FH4 as well? If you put sim steering on most cars, wouldn't it just spin? I actually have never played the previous game, so I'm just asking.
Sim steering was definitely, there was like the potential to sim twitch, especially on dirt. After like a landing or a jump, you just sim twitch if you weren't like incredibly good with it. I didn't use sim on FH4. I used normal steering, and for me, FH4 normal steering is like the best steering that I've played on like a racing game.
What's actually a difference in physics? So there's what? They changed braking. They changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the physics are definitely like just overall different in FH5. I think braking is the most noticeable one. It's like significantly, there's a massive difference between FH4 and FH5.
Yeah.
The
cars just look like they're drifting in FH4. Like the whole time they're screeching their tires. Like I don't. So
yeah, weird. FH4 you could like you could run a slip angle on like a lot of cars and you'd be fine, and that was kind of a skill with it, especially with like lower grip cars, like power builds and things. Whereas FH5 you have so much grip on like every car that it doesn't feel as like floaty. Like FH5 feels very like grounded, and you just have like too much grip almost.
Yeah.
I guess it helps a bit with car confidence, but when every car has that much grip, you kind of lose a lot of character.
They feel lighter as well, right? The cars. Like whenever you watch like an FH4, world record lap, there's so much like prop braking and the car barely slows down. And FH5, you touch anything, the car just dead stops. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess that's good, kind of, because there's a lot. Like every time I watch any FH4 content, there's just cuts everywhere on every track, wherever you go. I guess that's fixed. That's a good thing about FH5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, you go, Sappy, sorry.
You say FH5, they like to say they don't have a competitive lean, but they certainly tidied up a lot of things. So I know they made the driving model a little bit more accessible, but they definitely also took a look at the fairness, the raceability of tracks, and also the amount of cuts and cheese, and cut that right down. So in some ways, they do care about the competitive side.
A little bit. Yeah, not when they're changing changing physics every other patch. But yeah, I mean, it still comes down to, well, just bring back ranked if you want the player base. Do you guys think that there's gonna be like a ranked queue in FM8? Because we know that there's gonna be like those weekly championships or whatever that's gonna be with like qualifying, but a proper ranked queue, I don't know. It feels like they kind of needed to keep the game alive, but it doesn't, like, no one hinted at anything like that. I don't know.
I don't think it will be. I don't trust them to implement a ranked mode.
Oh, we need to start cooking for the new game as well then, to just have it ready once it drops instantly. Well, that would be fun, actually. Yeah, I actually wonder like how many people will stay in FH5, because I know we talked about that, I think, but TeamWars is mainly staying, right, in FH5, or am I not correct?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't really know. I think most of the player base is gonna move. I don't really feel like there's much left to do in Horizon 5. Obviously, Event Lab is still a thing, but doesn't really work that well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. Then again, like, I think Warner said it last time, like, obviously sim races don't have a problem with that, but the amount of tracks can get repetitive. But then I thought, in FH5, you have like only a couple layouts that are actually good from the vanilla game. Like, most of the tracks are pretty whatever, let's be honest. And DLCs don't count, so I guess maybe. People have been asking for F1 car. Bro, imagine F1 car racing with FH5 people in FM8, but that's gonna be so fun. If they add those, of course.
I think it depends a lot. There's a whole unknown of we still know barely anything about the new motorsport. The reality of the matter is no event, no server, no community is going to make that kind of decision based on really a few minutes of trailers and like in-engine footage. Like we can call it maybe like 20, 30 seconds of gameplay footage total. That's not enough to make a decision like that on. So I definitely expect a lot of communities to experiment. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw TeamWars initially staying with H5 but running experimental events like invitationals on FM.
Like Sora, right?
Yeah, not too
Basically.
dissimilar. But I definitely see a lot of experimentation coming up, and it very much depends on the quality of the games where people are going to go. I mean, I can tell you now, Street Wars, with how it's built up and how it works, it's probably going to stay on FH5 just for the reason of it's very integrated into how H5 is, like the map mechanic, for instance. We can't really replicate that in a good way, because you look at, let's say, a world map, the amount of circuits, like you're basically just going to be concentrated to Europe, Asia. Kyle Army's going to be left out basically entirely. You've got a lot of sort of odds and ends here and there. So Street Wars is going to say H5, maybe experiment, and I think a lot of the other communities, if I had to guess now, if I had to put a pin on it now, would probably do the same. Just experiment, leave it as like invitationals and special events. Otherwise, just stick to its core, unless its core goes elsewhere, and then you have to make that change.
Have you guys seen the news, by the way? Or like, it's more rumors, but the articles that there was supposed to be like there was a premiere of the game set for June 2nd, I think, and that's when the Xbox thing is, and it's apparently gonna be like more than likely in like Q3 of this year. So maybe at least one racing game comes out this week, this year, because there's also Test Drive Unlimited, Solar Crown, which is like nowhere to be seen. That's just a cyberpunk status now. It's gonna come out in 2 years. I actually wonder about that game, because I love the original one, like Test Drive Unlimited. I'm waiting for that one.
I never played.
It's more like a cruising game than anything, but I don't think the competitive guys would like that. I don't know. Maybe not. I know a lot of people that still do. Oh yeah, Vordefine says the new crew game. I don't know anything about that one. As long as there's no planes anymore, maybe I'll look at it. Because holy, that was a
Yeah, no, you got a few different options. I mean, Solar Crown, still don't know a lot. The Crew Motorfest, now, full disclosure, well, like I know that it's basically, there are some aspects to it that are, I don't know, it's hard to describe. But I feel like, at least from what we've seen in trailers and stuff, there is very much a vibe of Horizon but crew flavored. And I actually remember writing an article on this, but it very much feels like I don't have that much confidence in the crew necessarily, just because you had its big USP, which was the massive map, the entirety of the US.
yeah.
And that, for a lot of people, was its identity, and you've now thrown that away for Hawaii, which is almost feels too Horizon-y.
That's Test Drive Unlimited for you.
Yeah, people have already played it under closed beta, and like there is an insiders program where where it is like under NDA. So of course we're not going to hear any details about it until that time. And time comes where, well, not when the NDA is lifted, because I think industry standard is like 5 years, and by that point the info is no longer relevant. But certainly not for a few months yet.
Yeah, a lot of those games have been just dropped, and there's like nothing to be heard about them. I feel like that's the issue with a lot of like racing games. There's not much media coverage usually. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but it's the same for Horizon, for Motorsport. Like, until you see an actual video from the developers, there's almost nothing to be heard about the new game, like nothing to get excited about, so to speak. I don't know if that, because I think FH5 was different, like right? It was like advertised everywhere, and that's why it still has the player base that it has, and
I
the
think it
content
just has the
creators.
lion's share. It just has the
guess.
lion's share,
It
yeah, I
doesn't have
guess.
any competition, so
I mean,
there's
yeah.
Exactly.
there's not really anything else to play. I think in terms
that's
of
right.
like media coverage and stuff, Forza is always lacking a lot. Like for example, FRC, that should have been everywhere. Like that should have been like a mainstream esport, because the amount of money they were putting in, and the amount of coverage it should have had.
Yeah, and it's Microsoft.
The fact that like most people don't know about it, that to me is mind blowing. I don't know.
Were they like mandated to use controllers or something, or do I have my facts wrong? Or like wheels?
There was, so I don't know for sure. I think there were some events where you had to use wheel.
What? Bro, that sounds
Like
that
I
sounds
think
so
maybe
bad.
Le Mans or something. I think there was one where you had to use wheel, but I think in general most people played on controller, which in my opinion is a good thing. I think Forza should try to retain that. I don't think it needs to be a wheel game, because
Yeah.
there are better wheel games anyway.
I mean,
You
that
might as
already
well.
sounds weird, right? Like you're forcing your esports players to just switch to wheel for one race. That doesn't sound like a very good esports, guys. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just not it.
Yeah.
It was a weird one. I remember doing a massive, basically like an investigative piece on it when I was talking about the future viability of Forza esports, and the FRC was a massive case study for me because it was such an enigma. I literally cannot find. It feels like lost media. I cannot find much of anything about it. I saw a few Liquipedia articles. I saw like little clips of like hot laps in preps of the actual events themselves, but the coverage, the all the rest of it, short of like fringe articles from 5 years ago, I couldn't find anything. It was so weird considering, like you said, the amount of money that they put into it. I think they've learned their lesson, but yeah, it's such a weird time.
A waste, I guess. Because there's been silence for what 5 years now, almost, in the Forza like the official competitive scene. Because all the content creators, or almost all the content creators that are left, are casual. We have Hoki Hoshi, we have AR12, we have I don't know, like Dubs,
EJS and
DJS,
stuff,
yeah, like ISAT. I don't know if ISAT still plays, but when the new game comes out, like most of them, like you're not gonna just move to doing competitive content. Like I don't know how you center your content around an actual like more sim-like game. If you're say AR12, because he has done some iRacing, I think. But I don't know how that went. I think he was like pretty mid.
You just got to cast your net wide.
Yeah. Or maybe just continue on doing on making the championships that they're making or they're creating.
I think you just need to surround yourself with the right people, right? So if you want to move into competitive games, then you get in contact with the competitive players. I think that would be the way to move forward.
Just get
Especially
connections.
like if you have connections with like people that play competitively, you're gonna have a better idea of what to do when you want to make content that involves competitive. So I think motorsport this is hopeful and like wishful thinking, but I really think that it would be beneficial to actually focus on competitive for that game, because
Of
like
course.
it doesn't have like a casual thing. Like apart from the story mode, there's not like the appeal for casuals that Horizon has. And if they're going to make Horizon as casual as it is, then they might as well go all in on competitive for motorsport.
Yeah. It's not like Grid where you just drift the corners, even if it's actual tracks. It's like they're actually focusing on making the game feel like a proper racing game. So I mean, they better not mess this up when it comes to media coverage, because for this to succeed, everyone needs to hear about it. I remember when GT7 was coming out, everyone in the racing game scene heard about the game. Everyone knew. People who didn't own a PlayStation, people who didn't give a single anything, people who didn't care about the game, everyone heard about it. And even though it launched a pretty broken game, well, happens. Still, everyone plays it. Maybe that's just the way, because we know how FH5 launch was. They didn't manage to fix it. They didn't deliver. Hopefully, the next game breaks that.
I will
Yeah, it
say
would be
they've
such a shame.
they have learned a lot of lessons. I want to give fair credit where it's due. In like Turn 10, Microsoft, PGG, I would definitely say they've made positive steps. I mean, look at the last few updates, right? They've been, as far as my metric goes, bangers, and I think that they look at things like 2017 to 19 FRC, and they did start to get their act together towards the end. I'll give them that. There was a lot of material on season 3, but there was only material I could find on season 3. So they did definitely learn, and I hope they continue to learn. Like the social media that they've been doing as of late has been like really good. Like having those kind of challenges with the oval. I love that. It's that kind of thing. It's that little push, that little extra you need to build. And if they can keep that momentum up and just keep that drive going, then FM is I have some confidence. I have good confidence.
Wait, what do we do if it flops? Do we just move on to a different franchise, or do we keep playing FH5? Like, what's the plan?
I think for me, that's probably it. Like, I don't think there's anything else that I want to try, and I don't think I can commit to sim racing at the moment. So, if FM is bad, then that's probably it for me. I probably won't bother unless I.
Would you just
manage to
actually
get
not
into sim
play racing games?
Yeah, I don't. I think I'll just do something else. To be honest,
Man, that would be
like,
such a shame.
I don't want to go full sim racing yet, unless I somehow have the money to do it. And if Motorsport is no good, there's literally like nothing like to play on controller. So, like racing wise,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd even bother. Like,
What if wheel is better? Like wheel is like 2/10 quicker on Motorsport.
That's a problem.
Then
That
I
is an issue.
just rage on Twitch.
Just get a sponsor, easy.
Yeah,
Just get a rig.
if wheel is better, then I'll just stream and start raging at people for using wheel. So
Yeah, just the hardware advantage. Like you are being accused of having because you run like what 240 FPS or whatever.
yeah, I'm cheating. So
Yeah, you're cheating. I don't know how did that even come to be? Like, was there literally just wait? Did I disconnect?
no, you're good.
I'm good. Okay, because the stream, I think. Yeah. Okay, now but we're back. We're back.
Brief hiccup there on the stream.
Did
Good.
it start with the launch thing? Like the XJR launch or whatever?
I don't know. I mean, so most of it comes from just having like beef with Seppi.
Yeah.
That started like long before like an FH4. Not really sure why. I still don't really know like what caused it. Because personally I like never really cared for him.
Yeah.
And then FH5, I guess at the start of the game, because I got quite good quite quickly with FH5. Even like some people that know me were like a bit suspicious. Surprised. And I was like, yeah. So I guess then when the document came out, people were like, oh, like maybe he actually is cheating. Like,
so there was a whole doc? Oh my
god. But like, I don't know, it was kind of just like most of it was kind of just bullshit. Like, sorry,
most of it.
Yeah, like,
so you're cheating only a little bit.
Well,
okay, I
obviously
get it.
some of it, like at the time we didn't know what it was. I found out because of the document coming out that the controller layout helped your launch. Before
That's gone,
that,
right?
Yeah, it's gone because of launch control. But before that, I didn't know. I just played on a custom layout from when the game dropped. so like it wasn't noticeable to me. So I guess that was kind of like the main reason that that
I remember
got.
everyone saying that you just get the best launches every time. I
Yeah.
remember Legends Cup, you just drove away instantly. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
And I thought it was weird, right? Because I knew I'd see it happening at the like race launch, but like I didn't do anything. Like I hadn't caused it to happen on purpose. And obviously other people play on like custom layouts as well, so it wasn't just me. I was just the one like in the spotlight, I guess, because I was winning races.
Yeah. I actually got it after reinstalling the game randomly. I didn't change anything about the layouts. I just got it randomly after moving to SSD for some reason.
That's what I mean. It's like the game is so dodgy with like physics and stuff that you can never even be sure like what's causing things. Like the braking in this game, I have to like smash my throttle every time I brake so I don't lock up.
Just 90% throttle, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that better than just putting 200 or what was it, 200% brake pressure in FH4?
Yeah, FH4 is like just tap the brake when you reach the apex.
Ah.
and then accelerate out again. Whereas because I engine brake so much, I just throttle control while braking basically.
Yeah, I get it.
That's the secret sauce.
Yeah,
that's the secret sauce right here, folks.
Sauce, and the cars does
just engine brake, just get good.
Yep.
Simple as. No, the braking is weird. I've certainly found it when I was trying to get up to practice the other day. Sometimes it would be fine. Other times I get one wheel lock. Other times I get two wheel lock for what feels like the same inputs. So
yeah,
I guess engine braking, trail braking, all different techniques you can kind of employ. But then that kind of gets onto the whole tuning aspect, because when you find a different driving style, of course, you've got to tune and adjust your build for it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Then we have the ABS. So like some people have been saying lately that ABS might be actually quicker on the road as well. Like
I was about to say about that. I think like because it wasn't fully tested, like the only people using ABS before were on keyboard. Until like Green came along and he's like an ABS master.
Yep.
I never really considered it, so I just never bothered trying it. But I think if I was to start FH5 over again, I'd just use ABS.
Okay, because it was quicker on RHEC placement, right? Like 1 or 2 tenths.
Yeah, with the dodgy tune, I don't know.
The dodgy tune made by the ABS user himself, Green Master 999. Well.
Yeah, but I think it's just because it's so much more consistent. Like even I have like lockups just from like random bumps and things. If I was gonna start the game again, I'd just use ABS. Like I feel like it probably saves you so much hassle, so much like tuning. You just go straight, tap the brake.
Yeah. I didn't actually know how ABS worked because I also used to use ABS, and I'd just press 100% brake, and it would still lock up, obviously. And I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I got informed that even with ABS you have to control your braking and not brake 100%. So I was like, oh, that's why I was so bad at the game. It's not the reason, but you know, you keep looking up with ABS as well. But I don't get, like, doesn't ABS just give you more turn in the game? I think that's what it is, right?
I don't know for sure. Mostly I would just use it because locking up is such a problem.
Yeah, but TCS is slower though, right? And stability control. That's slower.
TCS and Stim are definitely slower.
Okay, and then sim steering obviously quicker.
Yeah, sim steering is so much faster. Like, there's no reason to use normal steering at all in FH5.
Yeah, I think Skiddy swapped to sim steering like a couple of weeks ago, and now he's just getting into D1 Heat 1 easily. He's just getting in there.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was that much of a difference.
Yeah, definitely there is a difference. In FH4, it wasn't necessarily like a big difference. Sim steering would be faster on like really understeery cars or like high grip cars. But other than that, it was kind of just preference. I pretty much ran normal like the entirety of FH4 unless there was like a specific combo. And I know other players at the top did as well, like Sumin and Course, and all three of us agree about normal steering just being better. In like it was just such a nice steering model. I think if I had that steering model in FH5, it would be so much nicer.
Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
So wait. Yeah, I was just looking through chat. Never mind. Okay.
Oh, I don't know. It's like the handling model, of course, is like we it's kind of a get what we're given kind of thing. I guess the main reason was to, I guess, cater it more towards the casual, because we go into motorsport now and it's going to go completely other way. So sim twitch, the like, but hopefully more consistent. I know there's been a lot of talk about specifically tire compounds coming into the game. I think that's definitely going to change up gameplay and the like.
Yeah, I think it depends how they implement it. If it's just like a basic, like this tire is faster than this tire, that's about it, then it won't change very much. Like
I mean, you can regulate, right? You can just regulate, just go hard to medium or whatever in each race, and it doesn't matter which one is quicker.
Yeah, exactly. So I just hope that if they do implement it, they actually implement it properly and not just like this is a feature of the game that we can put on the title, and then it's just kind of not very good.
What would for you be like your air quote proper implementation of tires then? Because of course we've got the basic version, which is just to say soft, medium, hard. This is faster than this. Good luck.
I think at least from like a perspective of tire like wear and stuff, I think that needs to be implemented properly, because I think it would be beneficial if you actually promoted like tire saving and like driving smoothly. Like anything that adds to the skill gap, I think that's beneficial for a game that's, well, hopefully competitive.
Wow.
So I think I would like the tire wear model to be good in terms of like responsive to your inputs and your steering, rather than just like a base, your tires will wear this much every lap, because I don't think that really brings anything to the game.
And like heating up the tires, because like in FM7, isn't that the case where some cars are quicker on lower tires? Like that doesn't make sense because they become easier to drive. I really hope that's not a thing, man.
I don't know how it works too much in FM7, but I've heard some rumors that just make it sound really dodgy. So
yeah, there's like a sweet spot for everything, and also traction control. If they mess that up, I might just like pass instantly, because I hate how you just bog down in FM7. It's just so bad. That's probably my worst grievance when it comes to that game. It's just so inconsistent. So much for no reason.
I got so frustrated. Again, going back to that brief tour stint, there were so many times, because I in the SLS AMG GT3, so many times I come out of a corner and I'd either break the rear or I bog and not carry the speed through. It was so frustrating at times. I just didn't get it. I just couldn't get it. And I guess for all of its foibles, for all of its faults, FH5's handling, it's quite easy to just pick up and you understand at a fundamental level. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to play a game of chicken every single corner. It's very much, okay, I messed up and I messed up this corner, or I did it right and it works, or I did it really quickly this time, I carried the speed nicely. It's just the inconsistency for me that needs to be fixed. I don't know, for a tire model, the more complex you make it, the more you advantage wheel is the issue. And of course, in that whole debate of Forza being a controller game, I think it's its greatest strength. Like if they want to do Forza esports, what I want to say is you make a controller, and this is the quirkier part. You have teams, and you have an in-game credits budget. So hear me out. You can have, let's say you have different, it's like sets of cars, and you have different upgrades. So you factor in homologation, right? Balance of performance, homologation. You have a credit budget as a team because so much of Forza is built around like the economy and collecting cars and like collecting credits that you can then invest into your machines, right? So you play into that. You lean in. Let's say you have a season and you have like 10 million credits. That will get you either 3, 4 very high-end race cars, or you might spec like a lower for a prototype division so you can get a better GT3 car, or you might spend more on upgrades for that lower GT3 car to balance it out. There's a few options you can take. Of course, this is very vague because this is just an idea. Don't know how the new game is going to go, but
no one knows.
That's again, something that you could lean into. You lean into the game and the franchise's strengths, and you can really carve yourself out something unique here, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find the balance, right? Yeah, go on.
I think they definitely, I agree with focusing on controller. I think that's like the main strength of Forza anyway. And the main player base is always going to be on controller. So I think they would be making a pretty tragic mistake if they decided to lean towards wheel, because then they're competing with a whole different like market, and I don't think that Forza can compete in that market.
You don't think Forza can compete with like GT7, for example? Because they kind of seem to have drifted apart, but maybe they can get.
I don't think they're trying to compete with GT7 though, because they're just separate, right? I think because Motorsport is like obviously it's going to be on PC.
Yeah.
If they go towards wheel, then they're going to be competing with like other wheel games that are already well developed, and
ACC.
I don't think it has the infrastructure or the good standing with drivers to compete in that market. But I think in terms of controller racing games, like Forza is the best, so they need to like play into that. I think that's where the market is for like there's a lot of competitive people that want to play, but they don't have a wheel. For example, that's the only reason I play Forza, right? Because I want to compete and I don't have the money or the time to get a sim rig and start sim racing. There's definitely a lot of us that feel the same way.
Maybe that's what we need, another controller game just to compete with Forza, to just light a fire under them so they can they keep delivering on the good stuff for us. Maybe that's what we need.
You look at the other games in the market as well, and almost with that whole controller debate, I want to highlight GT7 for a minute because they had their Olympic Series event, so they got featured in the Olympics before. They're getting featured in the Olympics again as esports, which, don't get me wrong, brilliant, love it. Good to see esports getting some proper mainstream exposure. I live for that. But you look at the top 10 and they're all either, say, accomplished esports athletes or like people with like the best of the best kit. And accessibility is one of this Forza franchise's great strengths. You had relative like no names because, of course, 2017, the inaugural season of anything in this kind of esports level for Forza. So the FRC rolled around season 1, and you had what it's fair to say nobodies. Like you had no names, you had the nobodies coming in. Of course, you had some established names from within the community and some established good drivers, but you also had that opportunity for those real wild cards, those underdogs, those hero stories, and that is where they could really see something amazing. I mean, look at Rensport. That's, yes, a more sim-focused game, but they've both attracted a mix of like established sim drivers and maybe people out of a bit more left field as well. you got those opportunities. You've seen some real other drivers like Hydra, but like came from Forza, gone to Red Sport, absolutely smashing it out there.
And an ACC as well, right? I wonder if
Exactly.
he's actually if people like that, like I mean, Eclipse is more likely, but people like Hydra, if they're gonna just come back to the new game, that would be interesting to see if they still got it. You know?
I reckon he's gonna come back and play it.
Oh, that'd
I
be
know
sick.
I know he tweeted about how excited he is for it. I don't know if he'll like switch. I assume it's definitely more economic to not switch completely back to motorsport, but just from a fun point of view, I guess it would probably be quite good
Yeah.
for him.
I think
They're
it's at that level.
established already, right? They can just come here to chill, to check out the new game. Or I mean, maybe there's some money in this. Maybe this becomes an esports, and there's money in this to gain. Then they can just do both.
Yeah, I guess like you get to that level and you get more to the business end of things. It very much just you have that hard focus on being a business. So in the case of say like Hydra, Dara, and other top sim drivers, yes, they will try the new motorsport. Unless there's the money there, no, they will not stay. That's just the brutal reality. I mean, you've got flashes in the pan in terms of esports exposure. It's like I don't want to call it an esports event, but the whole BMW,
I wanted to mention that.
the whole BMW thing. Like, come on. I'm just gonna state my opinions out in the open. Fun event, yes. Marketing it as esports with that level of driving, no.
Really
Try
bad.
again.
Yeah.
Imagine if they actually did it like properly. Maybe the game would just gain traction. Like people would get noticed because, like, whenever like an outsider looks at how people drive in Forza, hell, Scout, our new caster, he's like, I didn't know you could drive like that. I didn't know you could do that in this game. Like, people are just so consistent, so insane. They're just missing the checkpoint. Like, what's happening? Like, I reckon the way that Horizon drives and the way that that this game kind of works is interesting in itself, and it kind of has an edge over over Sims. It's obviously not really fit to be an esport, I don't think, because of we mentioned how inconsistent the physics are. But that could be like the bridge to get those let's say BMW, to get those esports orgs interested in the new game and like actually start competing. Because who do we have? We have Williams and Ferrari is in like F1. Like,
all the F1 teams have esports division equivalents.
Oh, do they
so
actually? I didn't know.
Yeah, the F1 esports, they have like an esports team for every on the grid traditional team. That's part of the partnership. So that's neither here nor there. I think I say Williams has a bit of a larger involvement, like Williams Resolve, and you have a couple of bits here and there as well. But the thing is, for me with Forza, there is potential there. I mean, Honda Fan Cup, all right? Yes, it was US only. That was the only issue. But that was, I would say, a genuinely well-run event, probably because of terms of prizes and contract law and things like that, which I'm not going to get into here. It's a bit messy. But prize and competition law is fun. Either way, that's an example of what I think is an event done well. Bias aside, because I was personally involved, there was proper backing behind it. There was a company behind it who was helping run the whole show. You had, of course, the official big name partnership that was tied to it. You had good standards of racing. You had like actual good flow run of show. It was a proper event. And I think you keep that momentum. Like, you've got a very positive response from HFC. I think it's safe to say the response for the BMW esports event, esports air quote, was a lot more negative, because we went from HFC, which was like a showcase of the best, to a bit of a bumper cars festival. Mind you, I will give them credit where it's due, because while they did sort of play into the esports marketing angle, they didn't necessarily say it was going to be esports driving, just that they had esports personalities. So I will give them the fair shake there, but I'm also giving them a fair whack for like this, when people come here from an outside perspective, they bite onto that esports marketing. They think, oh yeah, this is what the best of Horizon 5 looks like.
Yeah. Why
And
make it a
then
race?
yeah, and then you see like bumper cars and people smashing each other into walls at HMC, and it doesn't look good. Yes, it's funny, but you take it out of that initial context, like that initial 10 seconds where you get a good chuckle from, hey, he rammed into someone, and it kind of paints a bit of a more negative picture.
They actually deleted the tweet, I think, or limited who can. Am I? Yeah, they did. Well,
So
I actually wonder why
clear
if
that
they didn't mind.
It's clear that they learned for it. Like, am I going to slam them for putting on the event? No. I think at the end of the day, it was a fun event. I just think the targeting and the kind of marketing that they did for it didn't match up with what we saw in the final product. I would love to have BMW esports back on the scene. Abso-freaking-lutely. But if you're going to lean into that esports, you need to actually push to have a good balanced event that doesn't mismarket itself. Like if they did a pros versus pros, where they had on one side you have all your traditional Overwatch pros, and then on the others you can maybe have a chat with like ESV, Polo Racing, you get all the other orgs and teams, and get some of the top Forza drivers. You could make that into just a genuinely fun event. You appease both sides. It's just the marketing and how you go about it that makes the difference.
Yeah, but for that you would need someone from the inside to let you know like who's the best drivers, because there's no official leagues. You need someone that knows what the best leagues are, or which the best leagues are, and who's the best driver, or the best drivers, who to invite. It's a whole. I mean, it's hard to invest in a game that's aimed at casual players, right? So maybe in the new one we actually see some more teams, some more orgs try their hand.
I definitely think we will.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
This is kind of why I want like at least Team 10 or the developers to be involved in it, because if the developers are involved, then if these companies want to get in on it, they just have to contact Team 10, right? And Team 10 can point them in the right direction. Team 10 are running, if they're running the events, they know who's good, they know who's racing in it, who's winning, which teams are doing well. That's all information that the only way to access that information in Horizon is through the community. You kind of need to know where you're looking. You need to know who to contact.
Turn
10 need to keep their ears to the ground, and they, at least PGG side with Horizon, they've been doing a better job. I hope that carries over.
It's like now or never.
Because this is kind of your break point. We're coming to a new engine. There's a lot of hype surrounding the game, even with so little info about it. While not wanting to place any undue pressure or expectations, this is very much a make or break game. You've had such a big gap in the motorsport side of the franchise that you have to perform here. You're dropping the numbers. That's a big commitment to make. And with the new engine and all of this talk of refinements and new mechanics, this game needs to perform and it needs to show its longevity.
Yeah. They will have the player base from the start, from the beginning. Like everyone or most people from FH5 competitive scene will try the new game. It's just a case of, will they stay interested? Will they keep racing? Because a lot of people are already signed by teams, right? Like half of GRT is in VNX, you guys in ESV, APR is there. Like a lot of people just racing for different teams already. So yeah. It's just like a one shot.
The game needs to be polished when it comes out. If it's not, that's like a big problem. That's what happened with FH5, right? So FH5 had such a huge player base when the game came out.
Yeah.
And it died. The game didn't die, but the player base died off so quickly because it literally just didn't work when the game dropped. There was like missing features. The game crashed every 2 minutes. Online was just a mess.
It was impossible to race online.
It was so problematic, and the player base just suffered so drastically because of that. Even things like Twitch, where the first day of Horizon, Twitch was like insane, and there was so many views and so many like people streaming it, and the second day there was like 10 because you couldn't play online and you're already done. There's nothing else to do.
Mm.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
completely dead. Yeah, how do you bring viewership back to the Forza Twitch? Because you kind of have to like you
Tough.
kind of have to have the views to be in the top games, but then how do you bring the views back if you already lost them? Like it's
Well,
just
I
it's
think
hard.
that's where you, at least for motorsport, I think that's where you go in on the competitive side and the marketing for it, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a motorsport game. It's about racing, right? So why
Yeah.
don't you prioritize that? Why don't you focus that? And you can get a lot of viewers, even like casual people that don't race can enjoy like watching the racing on Twitch if you have good casters and good like explanations, and they can see what's happening on track. And racing is not like a difficult concept to understand, right? One car is trying to race the other car. That's that's basically all it needs to be. You don't need anything else with Forza because everybody can pick it up, everyone can play it. If they focus on that, I think there's a big potential for, at least from my perspective, I think esports has a big potential in that market, because there isn't anything that is this accessible in esports, in racing.
Yeah, it's like it's easier to watch than iRacing, and a lot of people that would play it might like be interested in watching it because it feels like it's very easy to watch Forza racing. It's just like it's so hard to find the balance. We keep talking about the balance, but we just all are very hopeful that they just won't mess it up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the key things to keep in mind is that with polish, I know there was a bit of controversy surrounding car content because of certain cars maybe getting removed at launch. I think in particular the Porsche 935, I think, was one of the cars that was,
what's that about?
Was talked about like being removed or maybe like split off to almost like a welcome
Mm-hmm.
pack type deal. I don't think there was ever an official confirmation in that. But kind of moving on from that, for me, the context is that we talk about FH5 having the buggy issues. FM7 was the same. FM7 was not a stable game, and even then, after a lot of updates, still isn't what I call a very stable game. So I would take a content thin game that is polished over one that isn't and isn't. So even if there's not very many new cars at the start, if you have a solid engine that is clean and is sort of bug free, and this is why I'm leaning a lot on the new engine as part of my discussions, my arguments, is that you wipe the slate clean, you clear out all the back end clog, the legacy code, if you
Legacy
will.
code.
Well, I mean, you got this engine that you've built on and built on and built on, and you wipe the slate clean. Eventually, you have to. But you've got to market it right. You're going to, of course, there's going to be a bit of a numbers push because every number has to be bigger than the last. But I'll happily take a game that is maybe less aggressive on the initial content, but is polished well on that content, or that content is meaningful. So, like, I will take a new track over a new set of 5 cars any day, because a new track is a lot more value than bumping the car count from like 600 to 605.
Yeah, I don't think that matters. Like, I know a lot of the casual community, they do care about the car list or whatever. But look at actual, like, we keep comparing the game to to Sims, but it's kind of where it all leads to. Like, if you look at Sims, you look at ACC, they don't have many cars. They just have what is needed for the competition to happen, and that's it. And no one complains really. I mean, yeah, I guess iRacing have a bit more, but it has a bit more, but that's like a full-fledged sim. So
it's a test of focus, I think.
Oh, it definitely is.
It's Forza by design is a franchise that allows you to do a lot. It is by nature unfocused, but that's not a bad thing in its case because it means you can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But the problem comes when that focus, that lack of focus in some cases, actively harms the experience. So having a higher quantity of cars is great, But if they all feel the same and they're not all to the standards that are expected, then that's where a problem comes in. So you get that initial draw, and then it doesn't follow through. I think it's the same with in-game polish. You can have very sleek UI design, you can have very nice menuing, but that doesn't matter if the game is unstable, if your game is crashing, freezing, you've got hang-ups. That is all going to detract from what might be under the surface a very good and very accomplished game. It's the negativity bias almost. You focus on the negatives and not necessarily weigh up the positives fairly because the negatives stick out more. It's a psychological actual phenomenon that has been studied for years. So they need to make sure that those popular sticking points, those popular negative points like the game's polish, are addressed properly.
I would agree in terms of we've seen with FH5, it literally proves that constant content updates don't matter if your game sucks. Like
everyone's gonna complain anyway, even if the game is good.
So for like Motorsport, I think if the game works, like if the game is really good, even with like 10 cars, right? Obviously we're not gonna have 10 cars, but if the game was really good with 10 cars, you can easily start adding new cars in. And they already add cars in weekly or monthly anyway. We know that they have the ability to do that. So if the game works, they can easily support it. If the game doesn't work and they just send in new cars every month and hotfix like some random bug and bring out 8 more, then it's just gonna kill the game again. And I think they need to learn from what's happened with Horizon 5, because Horizon 5 had so much potential and I think it was wasted. And I don't want to see the same thing happen again.
Wasn't it the same with FH4 FM7 launches as well? Because I heard that those were very bad as well. Maybe just people forget.
I don't know. I wasn't there, so
you weren't there.
I can't give you my opinion on that. But
I think it's easy to forget sometimes a bad launch of a game if it ends up good. Although you don't remove that mark from your journal, because when push comes to shove, when it's time for the new game, all those discussions come back again, and you think, oh yeah, remember when FH5 also had a rocky launch? Or you also remember when FM7 had a rocky launch, and so on and so forth. But with so little information, I guess we wait and see. We got the showcase coming up, though. And that's hopefully going to have some new info. I heard the rumors that rumored is October that the game is going to come out. But of course, we better get an official confirmation by the time the showcase rolls around. I don't really know what we're going to do.
Yeah, what are we going to do till October? What's
Put
coming?
all the thumbs on the other game.
Yeah. I mean, RH are going to do make some events, probably. But we have TeamWars figuring out the new format, which I still don't know much about. But that could be interesting. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Street Wars is wrapping up season 2. So season 2.
Any news on Street Wars?
So season 2 ends on June 1st. So any teams that are listening to this, of course, get your races in, get them done, because after that point, no more racing. The map's frozen. Awards are handed out, and then we'll have about, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks. This very much depends on Fighter Elo's completion, because that's one of the core mechanics. About 2 to 3 weeks off season, time to rejig the server, make some tweaks. So like we've already started rolling out server updates and features, like the new Discord onboarding. That's been a great help because everything's kind of all in one place. All the rules are in one place.
Is everything getting wiped? Teams, blacklist, everything?
So the teams will be getting a reset. Blacklist is set to continue. There's it's not factoring into the massive rework, but that is subject to debate. We might roll out some updates for that as well. The focus has been the big team event at the moment.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that because we actually raced this weekend and we won somehow. So that's a W with as much practice as we had against MT. One of the last races of the season, probably. We can
Probably
say
so.
that. Yeah. We're actually I'm gonna leak since teams are getting raced. We're gonna merge with FRT, but that seems like it's not happening anymore because the season's ending. So yeah, looking forward to the new one.
Can't wait.
We'll see. Mars
It's
coming
gonna be
back
fun.
to blacklist P1. Are you still on top? Let me see actually.
Me? Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, I stopped doing it.
Rip.
I mean, just because I don't play the game as much anymore, it was kind of just more like if I got challenged, I was like, ugh, rather than like actually wanting to play. So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want to do it anymore.
Fair enough.
That's well, I say we got where we stand now. Of course, we're hoping for more information for the showcase when that does roll around. I think we've got one more episode before the showcase hits.
Yeah.
And then, of course, coming up, we've got, say, final Street Wars races of Season 2. We've got RHEC Round 4, President Carreras. That's going to be a fun one. Can't wait for that. Couple of Team Wars bits happening here and there. So I know a few teams are looking at new matchups at the moment. Have to wait and see how that goes. I think we got quite a few that are happening in the near future. So I think LDAC has a race, and
RT, yeah.
and
SR1 ATR.
SR1 ATR, yes. So a couple races down the line, potentially some more sooner stuff, but I think that is a fair place to leave it. So of course, Mars, thank you for joining us. You've been an absolute legend, mate. Keep being fast as you tend to do. Hopefully the new motorsport game pans out and we'll see you more on the track. But sort of any final things to expect, of course, the current top dog. Any words for anyone else out there?
Not really. At least I don't have a winning streak anymore, so Sunday should be fun.
Not flaming your competitors. That's just
I don't
sportsmanlike.
I
What a
don't need
shame.
to I don't need to flame anybody.
Yeah, just let the driving show. That's very good. Yeah, I'm looking forward actually.
Let the
'cause
driving
the championship
do
is
the
closer
talking.
than I expected. It could be fun. Definitely.
It'll be good, but yeah, let's say be nice, be kind. It's nice to be important, but more important to be nice. Anyway, looking forward to it. Of course, Albert, same time in 2 weeks.
Same time in 2 weeks, hopefully with Warner. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome stuff. Take care, everyone. See you around.